Here we are for our Worthiness Matters 30-day joy-based spirituality workout. Worthiness Matters. It's a live stream. And so those of you who are my wonderful subscribers at Patreon, you get to be able to be present for the live stream and ask any questions if you have any, or make any comments if you want to during the live stream. And then we make them public. So it's kind of nice because this way it's a more intimate feeling while I'm actually doing the live stream. So today's question, we have, out of the 30 days, we have 15 questions that one of our members wrote and asked me to share on video the answers to. And when I ask this question, this is a beautiful question, actually. When I ask it, I want to invite you to tune in to your own body, to tune in to your felt sensations, so that you're experiencing the question from a body sensation, not just from your intellect, not just from your mind. And so the question, because your power, your energy, your truth, it lives in your body. It doesn't just live in your mind. And fixing my hair here. So it doesn't just live in your mind, and you get to experience more of your deeper truths when you listen into your body. So I'm going to say this question: does worthiness help me find a purpose? Does worthiness help me find a purpose? Okay, so I'm going to share my experience of that. 150% yes. 150% yes. Yes, 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 yes. I always turn back to the natural, the example of the natural state of children and how they're always exploring. Well, different children explore different things, right? So I have one friend who loved just being very mechanical with his hands a lot. I have another friend who, little children, oh, man, they gravitate to things. Some children, uh, my friend Vito, when she was a very young child, she sold her first piece of art when she was walking home from school. And someone saw that she had a piece of art and bought it from her on her way home from school. She was like 5 or 7 years old. So we gravitate to things. I've been to Epcot with people. I used to have a year pass to Disney when I lived in Florida, and I loved going to Epcot with different people because it would always, I would see Epcot through their eyes. There was one guy I went with. He just wanted to go from one drinking station to the next drinking station. I didn't really like him, so that didn't really work out. But then I had another friend who wanted to go from one piece of music to the next piece of music. And so I ended up going to places at Epcot that I'd never been before because I never navigated Epcot musically. I navigated it differently. I liked going to the countries and visiting the different cultures, um, and seeing what was on the frontier and going to Mars. And that was amazing. So I love expanding my horizons and feeling connection with different cultures, and going to Jurassic Park, the past and the future. So, what, let's ask the question again: does worthiness help me find a purpose? A lot of times people associate purpose with, here's what I'm here to do in this lifetime. Um, that can be a real dangerous walk, because in our perfectionistic society, it can look like you have this thing to do, when really your purpose. So I have a friend who cares for caregivers, and she does conferences for caregivers. I'm sorry, I don't know anybody who ever just decided, I just want to be a caregiver today. It doesn't. Sometimes you find your purpose because that's what life gives you. Um, a lot of the purpose that I live here, by doing joy-based living, came from having a family that, from my dad's side, they were refugees that had to escape Iraq, and from my mother's side, and they moved to Israel and then America, and then from my mother's side, they were immigrants to Israel from Iraq, just when Israel was being born. So my grandfather on my mother's side was part of building Israel. These are people who, they weren't thinking psychologically, they were thinking survivally. So when my grandfather was still in Israel, my grandmother and the children took a ship and moved to New York and New Jersey, and my mother went to the school from Welcome Back Cotter. So these are people who weren't like thinking about, how to be really kind and what's your purpose. And they also lived in a time frame in the world where women weren't thinking those things. Um, and so they gave me, there was a lot of unprocessed emotion, which I happened to be the one in the family who was like, oh my God, this is horrible and it's painful and it's yucky and this needs to be healed. And realizing just how important joy is. And my middle name was really given to me as Happy. It was my great grandmother's name. It was her, her first name means happy in English. And so we navigate with what we're given. I was in trouble a lot, and I learned that reading books was a good idea. I loved reading books, and that took me to other worlds. And now I write books. So, okay, I'm going to ask this question again. Does worthiness help me find my purpose? Yes, and it's sometimes it's an exploration. I tried all kinds of things. I tried being a waitress, discovered I was horrible, horrible, horrible at that. I tried, I had about 15 jobs at one point in college that were all different things. And it was just very interesting, and I enjoyed the exploration. And so, but what worthiness is I care about doing what brings me joy and what brings others joy. So let's say, somebody who's a caregiver, they might, so one of my friends who had to caregive for her mother, when she and I started talking, I said, why don't you look up on Google dementia and how to help dementia patients? And so she started doing that and started giving her mother like tactile things to touch. And she became very knowledgeable about how to be with her mom and help her mom. But like if she had been musically oriented, she might have taken a different path for helping her mom, um, because she would have. Does worthiness help me find a purpose? Because she would have used her own inclination toward that realm of ways of being. Because I've heard that, music has its own, there's a whole bunch of research on how music helps people with dementia and Alzheimer's. And so, does worthiness help me find a purpose? I have one friend who went to college and he was supposed to only take classes that were like serious classes. And he snuck and took theater classes because it brought him joy. And so, worthiness has everything to do with following your joy to the best of your ability and making the most of what you have. There was a man who was in the Holocaust and he was a psychologist, and they burned all of his thesis. And he used his thesis, he used his knowledge while in the concentration camp, while suffering and learning how to. He noticed that the people who would visualize positive futures in specific imaginary scenarios, they survived longer. A lot of them would die in the concentration camp. They would give up hope. And the ones like he would imagine for himself having a birthday cake with people that he loved. And when he I was going to say when he graduated, isn't that crazy? When he left the concentration camp, when he was freed, he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning, and he created something called height psychology, where Carl Jung like studies the dark side and the shadow side and 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 all that and the archetypes. This guy Viktor Frankl learned how to fly a plane. He married a Catholic woman. He was Jewish, and he followed his joy. And so I'm going to ask the question again. Does worthiness help me find a purpose? 150%, absolutely. When you experience your own sense of worth, you're experiencing the truth of your being. When you deny your worthiness, when you feel contradiction about your worthiness, it interferes with your own flow. It's like having a lot of gunk on your car, on your windshield. If you have a lot of gunk on your windshield, that's what unworthiness feels like. It's really hard to go forward when you feel contradiction about your own worth. When you feel in alignment with your own worth, you can even look at this question from a really small perspective, like a 5-minute perspective. Does worthiness help me find a purpose? You could be, when you're in tune with your own sense of worth and your own, then the present moment opens up to you differently than when you're not in touch with your own worthiness. So you'll get intuitive hits, you'll get serendipities, you'll get like kind of communication from the universe, like, yeah, you're on track, you're on track. It's like you get that that game when the children play, warmer, 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 you're getting warmer. That's what it feels like, in finding my purpose on a daily basis, what to do next, what to do next. um and so I play with that. I play with that in that arena. When I recognize anything inside of me that feels like a contradiction to my own sense of self-worth, I try to work out the kinks. And all of the all of the stuff we have at Joy Based Living, all the processes and the classes and the products, they're all designed to help you just clear it up so that you can experience your own joy and let it flow. Um, does worthiness help me find a purpose? I'll start closing it with this: is that when you are experiencing a sense of your own self-worth, and you're taking actions that are based have that as their basis, then you end up doing things that other people really, when they appreciate you, they're like, wow, thank you so much. Like, they can't even imagine the world without you having done that. Like, imagine if Michael Jackson hadn't like danced and sang. Like, you can't even imagine the world without Michael Jackson. He's influenced so many, so many, so many things. So you'll get reinforcement from other people when they look at you and they're like, wow, thank you. Wow, thank you. And you can feel that the thanks is coming so for Michael Jackson, it might look like a standing ovation, or, he had other problems, but in terms of living his purpose, he, you know, y- you get feedback, is what I'm saying. You get feedback from others. Pink, if you want a really good documentary about does worthiness help me find a purpose, there's a couple of documentaries that she's done. There's one where she has is on I saw it on Amazon Prime like a year ago, where she has both of her kids in the documentary, and how she's raising them to have a sense of self-worth so that they can find their purpose, and teaching them to honor themselves and listen within, and take action based on what's true for them. And so that's how we create a more joyful world. Worthiness matters. Worthiness matters in a big, 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 big way. Okay, thank you for being here with me, and I will see you tomorrow. If you have any questions or comments, please share it, and I'll respond to them. Okay, bye for now.